Hello, we are joined here by Minnesota head football coach PJ Fleck, the 2019 Big Ten Coach of the Year, entering his ninth season. PJ was at the helm when Minnesota recruited NFL draft prospect Aireontae Ersery. I think I got that right the first time, Coach. So let's
Pretty
let's
good.
hope let's hope I can continue that. Coached Ersery for 5 seasons. So, Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing elite. Thanks for having us on. That's why we called him Tay. It was very easy.
Oh,
It's
that's
Tay. Just call him
I
Tay.
I'm gonna use that then. That's much easier.
You got it.
Well, that's great to hear. So, yeah, we'll get right into it on Tay. Watching him at the NFL Draft Combine a few weeks ago, he kind of briefly touched on his recruitment to Minnesota, and I believe he said one of the things that stood out most was that his mom loved the campus. So I don't know if you remember that or anything like that, but just kind of take me through, your side of things when it comes to, his recruitment, 5 years ago.
Yeah, first of all, I think Minnesota's always been a hidden gem. I think people hear Minnesota and you think it's like north of Canada near Antarctica. Like, I think people just assume that. And then when people actually come here on campus, they fall in love with it because it
Yep.
has everything.
Yep.
Not only do you have a 130-year-old campus and the Big Ten feel, you have an 18 Fortune 500 company, massive engine city about 3 miles across the Mississippi River. You can hunt, you can fish, you can ski, you can wake surf and be downtown in 15 minutes. Like
Yep.
it's so unique for a college campus to have all of that. So
Yeah.
it's not surprising to hear that his mom fell in love with that piece. But the first time we met him and got a chance to be around him was in a camp in Lindenwood in St. Louis. And these are mega camps. So there's a
Yeah.
thousand kids there. They're running them in and out. And he had these royal blue shorts on. He was about 238, 240 pounds. And the shorts were really tight on his legs. And I remember looking at him like, this guy's got a lot of athleticism. And we started
Yeah.
watching him. And then we kind of pulled him out of the line and kind of worked him out privately. And we were sold. I mean,
Yeah.
it to one point we even told him, look, camp's over. You can go home. It's time to go home. Camp's over. He's sitting there going, wait, I thought camp just started. Nah, that's it. That's camp. You can go. Because we didn't want anybody else seeing him.
Yeah.
He was a really special talent. We called him Old Blue Shorts. That was his nickname because we didn't really know much about him, but he was a
Yeah.
really athletic prospect at this camp and really stuck out to us. And with our developmental program, we thought he fit.
And I was looking I mean, he had like 8 or 9 offers, I believe it was. I know a few Big 12 schools, Kansas State. He comes to you guys, visits you guys in June 2019 and commits the next day. So what was it, anything specific about that visit?
Well, I think it was just when you start to look at our program is a life program. We're still maybe one of the dinosaurs walking the planet. I think there's so many transactional programs now that it's
Yeah.
all about money or the TV money or the revenue money or the highest bidder. We've always been a life program where we're going to develop kids academically, athletically, socially, spiritually through serving and giving. And it's not for everybody, but
Hmm.
that's the type of person Ariante is. And the NFL organization that gets him is going to be absolutely thrilled because he is an unbelievable person with an
Hmm.
incredible personality who has really turned down probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in college to stay in a life program that continues
Yeah.
to develop him as the best man he can be on and off the field. And that's why we're so high on him. And wherever he goes, he's going to make the organization way better.
Hmm. And that kind of leads me to my next question, just about, his development. He 3-star recruit coming out of high school, so obviously a good player. But his first season, honorable mention in the Big Ten. Then all the way to last season, he's a first teamer. So and now now we're talking about a potential first rounder, early second round pick. So obviously, you and your staff took a 3-star high school recruit to a potential first round pick, and just kind of that speaks a lot to the development. So I guess just to kind of narrow down on it, what are some of the big ways that you have seen him develop, and specifically, I guess, kind of on the field?
Well, we'll start on the field. His first game and start was against Nebraska during the COVID year.
Hmm.
And here he is as a redshirt freshman, just this big kid, 285 pounds, and now he's 335. But
Yeah.
Ariante, we knew he was so athletic that the way he was going to develop is some people can develop sitting behind somebody and watching, and they have to do that because they're not physically ready.
Hmm.
Ariante was going to have to develop on the field. And we
Yep.
knew that he'd have to take some lumps and he'd have to get beat here and there. But he was so athletic that we knew the strength and the size would catch up. But he was athletically talented enough in his redshirt freshman year to go out there, fail, grow. And he was open to doing that. And he did very well in his first start. And I think he took off from there.
Yep.
This is the ultimate. I think it's one of the most, I think, undervalued maybe or underestimated developmental programs in the country.
Hmm.
There are four teams that have had a first and second round pick over the last 5 years. Aireontae will be hopefully number 6 for us. I think it's Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and Minnesota. And if I asked all of you which school doesn't fit in those four, you'd all pick Minnesota. So I think it's just the complete person. We always talk to be a better player, you're going to be a better person. Like we want people to want to be better people, and you'll make yourself a better player. Coaches and cultures only create the blueprint. The kids got to build the house. And some people say they want what they say they want, but they really don't want it.
Yep.
Anybody can say they want something, but can you actually go build the house every single day, put your dream on the shelf and say, every day I'm going to knock down these goals to get to there one day and stay consistent with that. And Aireontae has always done that. He
Hmm.
never missed a practice. So I'm
Well,
going to say it again. He never missed a practice.
yeah.
Not because he didn't want to practice or he was hurt. This guy is durable. He's reliable. He's accountable. He loves football. The guy runs a 5.0 40
Yeah.
at almost a 4.9 at 335 pounds.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And to not miss practices and miss games says a lot about Aireontae.
Yeah. And just kind of touching on your point, you talked about him developing on the field for you guys. I think that's certainly something that kind of sticks out to me because, coming from a Patriots perspective, that's probably the situation that he would have to be in. I mean, the Patriots, and I'm not sure how much you know from afar, but they're down a few offensive linemen. Well, I'll say that, at least. And they could really use a left tackle who kind of comes in and does exactly what you said, develops on the field. So I think that's a really great point to make. Just kind of
I'll
as
hit
we
real
move.
quick. I want to hit real
Yep.
quick on what you said with the Patriots because I think I have so much respect for the organization and what they've been able to accomplish over the
Yep.
last decade, 2 decades, what they've been able to do. And with Coach, you look at the two guys that have come in at linebacker
Hmm.
with Jack Gibbons and Robert Spillane. They both Jack played for us at Minnesota, and then Robert played for us at Western Michigan University, and
Oh, okay.
they all have that football mentality.
Yep.
Ariante has the same thing. And if he's going to
Yep.
go in there, you're going to draft somebody in the first round. You expect them to play. Now, maybe not a quarterback at times. Sometimes you're drafting a guy to sit behind somebody, but the first round, that's where the unicorns get drafted.
Yeah.
And you've got two guys who weren't unicorns, but have done an unbelievable job in the league when no one thought they would. And two backers you brought in as free agents. Well, Ariante comes into that, and you start to have this
Yeah.
similarity of the mindset of football first and how much they love the game and how much they work towards making themselves great players. And I think every organization and what Coach is doing there is, and you could just already feel his presence of what he's trying to do
Hmm.
with that Patriots organization and bring them back to where they were with that mentality
Hmm.
of dominant, tough football.
No, I really appreciate you pointing that out. I wasn't aware of that coming into today, so
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that. And Vrabel certainly has been upfront in saying, he wants to, bring in culture builders, is I think that kind of the term that he's used in a lot of ways. So,
And
those
those
guys,
guys come from a culture of connectivity. And
yeah,
when you see those two, just yell, row the boat to them, and they'll know what you're talking about.
okay, I like that. Uh, So, and I'm assuming this question kind of touches on some of the stuff you said previously, but just when it comes to Ariante's strengths, and to kind of ask it more directly, what would you say some of his strengths are now entering the league?
Well, I think playing at the highest level for so many years, he's got experience playing the game. He's pretty much seen every front, every blitz, everything you can possibly throw at him.
Hmm.
We have an NFL run game, we have an NFL pass game, so he's been
Hmm.
embedded in that NFL culture. He's so athletic. He can bend, he can play guard, he can play tackle. He's very versatile. He's done that at this level. He can play any position, but he's a
Hmm.
great teammate. I think when you're talking about what Vrabel's building in culture, we define culture as connecting people.
Hmm.
That's all cultures do. Some cultures aren't very good and connect people in a bad way. Some cultures are really good and connect them in a good way. But culture is just connecting people. And Vrabel's connecting all these football people and these football players and these
Hmm.
tough and athletic football-minded people. And Aireontae's built that way. And
Yeah.
again, for a guy that I keep going back to that not missing practice in a
Yeah.
4-year career in the Big Ten and as demanding as our practices are, to do that says a lot about how much he loves the game.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
is an unbelievable teammate. And the one thing you're all going to love about him if he happens to go to the Patriots is his personality is off the charts.
Yeah.
You're going to love talking to him. Our media couldn't get enough of Aireontae, and he's got a great sense of humor. And he's just going to, he's really going to connect that offensive line room. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens with him.
Hmm. Hmm. And you also just touched on this, so thanks for bringing me to this point too. But during this pre-draft process, there have been a lot of questions, not just Ariante, but when it comes to which player is best suited at which position, all that sort of, Will Campbell's arms. I don't know if you've heard that, but we've talked about that in New England for months at this point. And
Yep.
whether Membu can move from right tackle to left tackle. What would you, I guess, how do you see when it comes to Ariante specifically, how do you see him best suited, and what position do you see him best suited to play in the NFL?
Well, I think he's a tackle. I mean, he's
Yeah.
so darn athletic. I mean, he's 6'6", 335 pounds, runs almost a 4.9 40. I mean, he can bend. I mean, he's a really good basketball player,
Hmm.
according to him, right? But like his movement skills make him very, very versatile. He's strong. He can play within a phone booth, powerful, play in that power type game, but he's athletic enough to play in the zone schemes. And
Yeah.
his pass pro is really legit. And the great thing about Aireontae, he's only going to get better. I
Yeah.
still look at Aireontae as really young because he came to us so underdeveloped at
Yeah.
240 pounds, where his best football is still ahead of him.
Yeah.
And he gets around the right culture, mentally, physically, emotionally, around the right coaching staff. I mean, this guy's going to flourish, and he's going to get to his second contract, and everybody's like, they're probably going to be like, he's still got 1 or 2 more years to really kind of be the best player he can be. He's just
Yeah.
going to keep moving forward and keep changing his best. And I think that's hard to find, where I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get something and they're satisfied. Like Ariante's one, again, I keep going back to that practice stuff. He was never satisfied in
Yep.
in his development, and he won't be satisfied in the NFL. He'll always find a way to get better.
Hmm. Hmm. And if I could just bring you back to late November when you guys faced Penn State, obviously Abdul Carter, who's in the running now to be the first non-quarterback, just a blue chip prospect in this year's draft. Taking you back to then, what do you remember? And really from that week in general, when it comes to Ariante, his preparation, knowing that matchup was ahead of him. So what do you remember from that week and that game specifically when he did go against Abdul Carter?
The great thing about Ariante is, I mean, after a 4-year career, there was never like, oh, I'm not playing that good of an opponent, so I'm just going to drop off.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't give up many sacks in his career,
Yep.
but if he did, he changed his best immediately. It just happened to be on whoever he was against. But the one thing I always loved about him is when the lights were on and on
Yep.
the biggest stage against the best players, that's where I think he solidified himself as a first round pick.
Hmm.
He didn't let the circumstance of who he played really dictate his behavior or make him change his play. We played against some really good players over the last 4 or 5 years, and I thought he was always, anytime he had to rise to the occasion of somebody who was a first rounder or anybody on the outside was hyping up, or he knew this matchup was going to be really, really tough. I thought
Hmm.
he always rose to the occasion and dominated that performance. And I thought he did a tremendous job against him in the Penn State game, and respectfully so, because Abdul's just such a great player.
Yeah.
But I thought both of them solidified themselves as top first round picks. And
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
uh, I just think I just think when I look at Ariante, he's so versatile and he's
Yep.
so athletic. They're just hard to find.
Yeah.
It's like a unicorn. They're hard to spot, and that's what the first round's all about. And you got somebody that athletic who's played that much football with that much proof, doesn't miss practice, who's a football guy.
Yep.
That's hard to find at that tackle position.
Yeah, definitely. And just lastly, I believe you guys had your pro day. I believe it was what, last week or the week prior?
Did
Okay. I'm not sure if you had the chance to speak with whether, Vrabel or anyone on the Patriots. I'm not sure if you did.
We
Uh,
did, yeah. I mean, the
okay.
great thing about us is, when we first got to Minnesota, we had 2 NFL scouts at Pro Day, and 1 Canadian football scout at Pro Day. There were 3 professional representatives in
Yep.
2017. Now we had over 75 NFL
Wow.
people represented. It's one of the biggest pro days in the country,
Yep.
from head coaches to GMs to scouts to assistant coaches. And we take a lot of pride in that and developing our
Yep.
talent. And Aireontae was a big part of that. I think
Hmm.
everybody wanted to come out and see him from the combine. He really did all the, he just did the O-line drills and got worked out that way. And I thought he did a tremendous job. But
Yep.
I think the more people see him, the more people get around him. They see his personality, they see what he can bring to an organization. The more they fall in love with him. And he's one of those guys when you meet in person, he's really impressive.
Yeah. And would you be able to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and let us know what your conversation with Vrabel and the Patriots entailed?
Well, it's just gathering information.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, when you look at the business of the NFL, I don't think anybody's falling in love with anybody, right?
Yeah.
Until you actually pull the trigger and draft somebody, because people are getting taken off the board left and right, especially in the first round where you're going based on best available player.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, people are asking a lot of the same questions that you're asking, and
But
they're always impressed with the answers. But I haven't heard one team sit there and say they don't like them. That's for sure.
yeah.
They all love different parts of them. Everybody does something a little bit different. They all like different pieces of him and why. But that's the fun part about him is they're talking about we love this and this and this and this, and they're not
Yeah.
talking about the buts.
Yeah.
We love this but, and it's all negative. It's all positive, and I just know Vrabel is. I can see what he's doing by the 2 linebackers he brought
Yeah.
in, and it is tough, focused football minds who loves it. I mean, Robert Spillane eats, breathes, sleeps football. He
Yeah.
would eat footballs if it was just if it was tasty. He would sleep on a football if it was comfortable. He would
Yeah.
cover with the football if you tied them all together. Like that's all he cares about.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jack Evans. So when you start to see the free agents Vrabel's bringing in the organization, you can start to see who they're also going to draft. And
Yeah.
if you don't love football, you're probably not going to be on the Patriots very long or get drafted. And I think
Yeah.
Aireontae would be a great fit.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. That was fantastic insight into both Ariante and the Patriots free agents that I unexpectedly so. But I really appreciate all that, and best of luck going forward. And I hope you enjoy draft night with another potential first round pick coming off the board.
And we're so excited. Thanks for having us on, and good luck to the Patriots, and row the boat, Sky Yaman, go Gophers.
Thanks, Coach.